Welcome to our webinar about creating Proxmox backups with HDClone. We are very happy to have you here, and my name is Michael Haunreiter, and I will guide you through the webinar, hopefully sharing interesting and important information for you. I'm also supported by my colleague, Alyssa Cook. Today's webinar consists of several steps. First, I give a short overview what we want to achieve and what's the difference to normal or local backups on physical hardware. I will then show you how to prepare to start HDClone on a Proxmox virtual environment, show you how to start the program and to start backup or restore processes. And finally, I will also show you an additional option which is upcoming, a sort of peek into the future, into the near future. So let's start with the overview about what we're trying to achieve. So first of all, today I'm not presenting any new features. Anything we are doing is already integrated in HDClone X.5. And we're just showing you a specific use case and how to do steps for this use case. We are using the Professional Edition Portable here, which is most useful for this case. You can also, of course, use the Enterprise Editions or the Professional Edition. That's also possible because they all bring the features you need. What is Proxmox specific about this, about creating a backup? So first of all, we are not on a physical machine, but on a virtual one, and it's mostly located in the network, somewhere in the network. So the first task is how to start HDClone on these virtual instances, because we usually cannot work with bootable CDs or USB sticks as we do with physical hardware. And then there's also the topic of activating the software to run. Usually, most of you may have a Professional Edition Portable, which comes with a USB token, but this USB token cannot be easily used on virtual machines which are located somewhere in the network, because you always would have to configure USB token, and it's sometimes it's just annoying, and sometimes it's almost impossible. So these are the tasks we have to accomplish. So we start with preparing to start HDClone on the Proxmox virtual environment, which I can show you here. I've prepared a small environment where we will perform the task. The best way to use HDClone in a virtual environment is to boot it over an ISO image. So as you may know, when downloading our software, I can show you here on the screen to download your product, you can select between different ways to obtain the software. The usual way is to have the Windows installation package as a self-extracting exe file. The next way is a zip package. You may have also tried this. It's very handy because it's not requiring an installation, and HDClone as a tool doesn't really require an installation. It's just more cozy to have it installed on a certain PC, but you can just use the exe file right from the zip archive. And the way I want to show you today is the OS-independent hybrid ISO file, which we offer. This is the preferred way to boot it on a virtual machine. A short note on why it is called hybrid ISO file. As you may know, it's a big difference in booting from CD or DVD or booting from a USB stick or maybe some other kind of random access storage. It's a big difference for the firmware, also known as BIOS. And the hybrid ISO file we offer here can do both. So you can just burn a bootable CD or DVD with it. Actually, it still fits on a CD too. But you can also dump it directly sector-wise to a USB stick or to some other sectorized storage, for example, using DD on Linux or some other direct dumping software on Windows. And it will also be bootable from a USB media. We do not recommend it, but it's intended to be used if you're a pure Linux user. It's working well. The only thing is that using the ISO image on USB storage may limit your storage capacity on this USB storage. So if you have the possibility to use our boot setup on Windows, we recommend to use it, but the ISO doesn't make a difference functionally. So now, when we have downloaded the ISO file, we have to integrate it in the virtual environment. I think if you're used to Proxmox, you know how to do it. You select one of the disk storages you have in the virtual environment. I've selected this one here. You go to ISO images and upload your ISO image you just have downloaded from the NanoWays download center. I have already done it here, so I have this file which I will use for the demonstration. Once we have uploaded this ISO file, it's available throughout the virtual environment. So I'm now switching to virtual machine which is running Windows to show how to use HDClone in Proxmox running on Windows, and later on I will show the self-booting version. On Windows, it's quite easy. You can go to the hardware configuration of this virtual machine, and you go to CD DVD drive. You can double click it and just add the ISO file you have just uploaded to the virtual environment. You click OK, and this ISO file is available as a drive on this virtual machine. And more important, I will switch to the running Windows now. You can do it while Windows is running, because on Windows, changing or adding the ISO file is just like changing a physical disk. So it will instantly mount it. You don't have to power down the virtual machine just to change or add the ISO file. And as you can see, we have the virtual CD DVD drive here on Windows. We now see the usual executable files of HDClone. As usual on 64-bit Windows, we just use the HDClone exe file. And just start it as usual, as you're used to. And it's now running as you know it from physical or local instances. So what we want to do in the first place is, of course, make a backup of the machine. And this is working here as you know it, just the same way. You select the disk you want to make a backup from. We just have one system disk here, but of course it's like on physical environments, you can select any disk that is available. And then we have to go for the image file. And here is most likely a difference, because in many cases, the backup image is stored locally or on a removable drive. But as you also may know, HDClone supports to use SMB or NAS drives already for some versions now. So in the case of using it on a virtual environment, we would most likely choose to use network storage that is located on some backup server where the backups are stored. So we have already, a backup storage here, network drive connected. But you can also connect it from inside HDClone. I will show this. We will then see two drives, but I will explain. So I have just to add the address of my local PC where I'm presenting from, because there I have a physical drive attached, which is then shared for network access. It has the simple name Proxmox backup, this share. Okay, and then it will also show the share down here. I will explain in a minute why I added this share here, because you could also use the share that's already available on Windows. So I can show you here what I wanted to achieve. Here in this line, you can see this is the share which also has the character Y as a drive letter. This is the share mount it directly in Windows, and you can use it here without doing the thing I did down there with the network storage. But you can also mount a network storage within HDClone without having it available to other Windows applications. So in this case, I wouldn't have the Y drive here, but could directly mount the share in HDClone without access for other applications. This is an important thing because this also can save you from other software, explicitly malware, being able to access your network backup drive. So you can just mount it within HDClone to prevent other software and especially malware to have access to these files. So now you see I have already some backups here. I choose a simple name now for demonstration. So it's the first backup now, so I call it backup 1, just to have a simple name for the backup. And so now I leave all the other options in place and go right to start process. The most convenient way to activate the software now is to use the single activation. This is just good for one run. You can, of course, use the permanent activation too, but most likely, if you're servicing virtual machines, you don't want to use a permanent activation on a specific virtual machine because it would be bound to this machine. You would rather want to use single activations instead of using the token, which is not well possible in virtual environments. Please contact us if you don't know how to get additional single activations if your contingent is running low. Up here, you can see the online slot. I will refer to it in a few minutes. So I kindly ask for your patience. I will now use the single activation and just kick off the process here. You can see it's preparing now, and it will start in a few seconds to do the backup. So it's running now. We let it run here in the background. And in the meantime, I want to switch to the second virtual machine. Now we want to show, or I want to show you how to boot HDClone on a virtual instance. Also here, I'm selecting a different ISO image as a bootable drive. And now we not just want to change the DVD drive contents or the ISO file, which is used for the virtual DVD drive, but we also want to tell the machine to boot from this drive. So for this reason, you have to go to Options, Boot Order, and then ensure that the virtual DVD drive is enabled and in the first place of all bootable drives. So you can be sure that you can boot from this ISO file. So then you can go to the console view and start the machine. You will see it will come up very quick, as you hopefully are used to with HDClone. So this would be the usual process to especially restore a machine or revive it from a backup, since the backups can be made on Windows directly, but you can also use this mode for backups, of course. So the restore, I hope you all know it. It's just in the opposite direction. Oh, sorry. Of course, I first have to connect to my network storage again, because this instance here, the second virtual machine, has not yet been connected to it. So I will again enter. I think I have, okay, US keyboard. I'm sorry, I'm changing to a German keyboard. It makes it easier for me. So I have to enter the address you have seen before again. So to connect to my local PC, which hosts the network drive, the network share. Okay. When I'm not on not on Windows, so I can also select one of these two options. I can show all shares, also those who are used with different credentials, and I can also search the entire network for any share that Windows will tell me is there, or any other server which has network shares. So I will leave this off to not overload the list. And now I have to give my credentials because the network share needs credentials, of course, because it's secured with a password. So now we can see the same here. We have the Proxmox backup share already mounted. This is the meaning of the filled circle. So we now can go here and we have the Proxmox backup share here. And now you can see again the different files that have been located there. The last one, this one is the one that's actually created at the moment in the first virtual machine. So I will pick a different one which is already finished, and I will pretend now I want to restore from this image. And you can see, as usual, the image appears. I can select the target disk, and then I can go to start. I don't do this now because I don't want to overwrite my Linux Mint, which I have on this virtual instance. I think you all can imagine how the process is going. But I want to show you something different. So I go to secure just not to overwrite my disk. Otherwise, I could also use restore. And I do the same like on the first virtual machine. And I'll pretend I want to make a backup and take the same name, but I name it backup 2 now. And again, I start the process. We have a new type of activation. We call it a slot activation. So you can do it online. It's like an online token. The requirement is that the HDClone instance that you are running has some online connection. But then you can use this slot activation very easily because you can use it just like a token on one PC or one system, on another system, one by one. But you don't have to carry along a physical token. So in some cases, it may be a good addition to the physical token, or in other cases, a physical token may be a good addition to slot activations. This is upcoming as a standard activation procedure for HDClone X.5. But we want to offer it to you per today as existing users, but this is an exclusive offer for everybody here on the webinar because you're also introduced now to it. And it's very easy. I can just click it and use it. And now it's available here. I have, in this license, I have just one slot, so I couldn't use the same now on another system. I would have to wait for the process to finish, and then this activation slot would be available again for use in a different system. And of course, like with the USB tokens, as you may know, you can have an arbitrary number of tokens to work in parallel. And the same goes for the slot activations. You can have one, you can have several, depending on your use case, depending on how many systems actually you want to run in parallel. And so that's something I wanted to show you today. So you know it's there, it's upcoming in the standard products. And if you really need it and want to use it now, please contact us. Just write a short email to mail@miray.de and ask for offer for slot activations. Please already let us know about which number you think you will want to use. That's what I wanted to show you today here. So now the process just in time is also finished. We have successfully backupped this instance of the virtual machine, and we can confirm it and now can quit the program and just, for example, shut down the machine or restart it to the native operating system. The same goes here for the Windows. It's also finished now, and we can close the window. One additional thing you may know, it has been there for 2 versions now, is the NetDisk server. But you can use it, especially on virtual machines. It's maybe a good idea to reverse the process, because what we have been doing here is to start HDClone and the backup application on the machine, and then saving the backup to the network. You can, with NetDisk, you can reverse this process. You can start the NetDisk server, and this now turns the machine where we have started HDClone into a server mirroring the local hard drives to the network, so that another instance of HDClone running on a different system can use these exported or mirrored to the network disks as a source, as a target. Usually, we're talking about backups today. It would be used as a source, but you can also do the same with the restore. Just when we're talking about a backup, it would be convenient to just mirror the disk read-only. You can also mirror it read-write, but I would now show the read-only case. It's just you have a control about how the disk is mirrored on the network. So now we can see the disk is available on this address, but we also do not any longer need this address, I hope, because we have added, I will just close this to have a clearer view. We have just added the ability to automatically recognize these shared disks. So as you can see down here, the other system, the system called Mint, popped up with this address automatically. You didn't have to enter anything, and it shows this shared QEMU hard disk. I can now select to mount this hard disk here, and now we have the hard disk from the Mint system, which is shared here over the network on different system. Typically, I wouldn't do this between virtual machines. It's just easier to show you how it works here. Usually, this instance where I have just mounted the virtual drive to would run on your local service technician PC or laptop or whatever, or on the server where the image is to be stored on. And now, where I have mounted this disk over the network, I can use it just like a local disk. So let's say, as I first said, I want to make a backup from the disk on the Mint system, which I've shared over the network. I just go again to the backup app. And now you will see I have two QEMU hard disks here. Okay, they're the same because both virtual machines have the same type of hard disk and the same name. But you see a small @ sign here. And this is actually the only difference you can see for a NetDisk shared drive. But in all other aspects, it just behaves like a local drive. And this is the big advantage, because HDClone can then use all its algorithmic specificity to create a normal image just if the drive was local. So I hope I gave some additional insight now for the time you have invested. So again, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to have you here, and looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a nice day.